Great. We are going to begin because we have a lot to cover. So we will call our special meeting of the board to order at 5:01 p.m. All board members are present, and we will open with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are inclined to do so, please stand and place your hand over your heart. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. So, tonight is a special meeting, which is a continuation of the board meeting from Thursday, May 7th. And we only have one topic on tonight's agenda, a major action item, adopt resolution 1943. And I will let Dr. Ben Drati begin our meeting.
Yeah, thank you, President Keene. Board members, reminder that this is just a continuation of action discussion we started on the 7th. If you remember that there was some information that came late from the judge, that at that point we decided that we needed people to read the information before making final decision on this. So this is just a continuation of that. And also another reminder that this is a process that education, ed code allows us to go through, or has us go through, in order to allow for school districts to evaluate their enrollment to staffing. Remember, so these discussions are more or less something every district is going through, particularly in areas where there's declining enrollment. And as you know, we've been declining enrollment for years, and in the past we've been able to absorb this through retirements, people transparency. But this particular year, maybe is because we had a retirement incentive the previous year that we just were not seeing that trend in the past, so which forced us to execute this process. Remember, this is just a process. When you vote tonight, this isn't going to be you deciding on who or what positions are being released, but it does give the districts the flexibility to go through further analysis to get to that sweet spot we need with staffing versus enrollment. So with that said, I know Dr. Kelly will speak a little more about what this process is to provide more clarity. With that said, Dr. Kelly, why don't you take us through this? I think you need to unmute yourself.
Good evening. Just want to welcome the board members, the Drati members of the public. Thank you for being here for this evening. So before the board tonight is resolution number 1943. Staff is recommending that the board adopt a resolution number 1943. Adopting the resolution does two things. First, it accepts the proposed decision of the administrative law judge. Second, it directs staff to continue the layoff process by issuing final layoff notice to certificated staff members whose preliminary notices have not been rescinded as of yet. Last week on May 7th, staff received the proposed decision of the administrative law judge. Given that we received the ALJ's proposed decision shortly before last Thursday meeting, we scheduled this meeting to give staff, board members, and the respondents time to review the report. Adopting the resolution tonight is a necessary action in order for the district to provide the legally required notice to certificated staff before May 15th. From the beginning of this process, it has been about ensuring that the district has maximum flexibility to align staffing and enrollment and to ensure that our certificated staff are in the right place. Staff continue to work with administrators to define and meet staffing needs. To date, we've rescinded 25 layoff notices, 5 of them since last Thursday's May 7th board meeting. We anticipate being able to rescind more notices, but are up against a legal deadline. To this end, I ask the board to adopt resolution 1943. I do want to ask that we draw your attention to the resolution because there is one correction we need to make. It's on the second page of the resolution. It's in the "Be it further resolved" section before the identification numbers, the last phrase where it says starting with the most senior employee, it should read starting with the most senior employee. At this time, I'll open it up for any questions.
Great, thank you, Dr. Kelly. I think at this time we want to give our public a chance to speak one more time on this item. I know we have a lot of teachers here today. We thank them for their time and attendance for this meeting, as well as the general public. We have 31 speakers on this item who signed up before. Well, you know what? One person signed up right as the item had started. We'll include her in the regular group. All speakers who have signed up at this point will have 2 minutes to speak for public comment. Anybody who signs up after this point will have 1 minute to speak. We really urge you that when your time is up, please finish the sentence you're on. And if you'd like to continue your comments, send an email to the board. We do read the emails that we get. So on that note, I will pass this to Vice President Lieberman, who will take us through our public comment. When your time is up, Sarah Warrenbrock will let you know that it is up.
He's not going to eat at the frickin' dinner.
Folks, people have their Zoom on and they are using language we're not using in front of children, unless of course they live in my house. So please make sure that you are on mute. And we appreciate that. Lisa Tercy is laughing. Okay, I can hear more people again. Please make sure you're on mute. Laurie Lieberman.
Hey, John, can't we force mute from our end?
Yeah, I wonder that too.
Let's hope it doesn't come to that, but if it does, we will.
Okay, I'll see if I can figure it out.
Only the host can do it.
Without further ado here, the first 3 speakers, I'll read 3 at a time, are Emily Arms, Ned Acker, and then Ruby Sunshine Vandenbrook.
Good evening, Dr. Drati, President Keene, and board members. Last Thursday, I spoke out in support of teachers and against the proposed layoffs on which you will vote tonight. At the meeting, we learned from Dr. Drati that over the last 7 years, the district, despite declining enrollment and with board approval, has spent our district into $11 million deficit. Now tonight, we're asked to accept and approve of laying off teachers as the first step in rectifying this massive shortfall. I understand that the district is required to notify teachers by May 15th, but if we have known that date all along, why were other budget cuts not proposed before laying off teachers? We are given to understand that more cuts will be presented at the May 21st meeting, but the cost savings of laying off 10 to 20 teachers does not begin to cover our massive deficit. Why start with our most crucial resource, teachers? Why not start at the top and ask senior administrators at the district office to take a voluntary pay cut, just as many executives in the business world have done recently? A voluntary 10 to 20% pay cut, even if it were only temporary, until the budget crisis is resolved, would signal to the district rank and file and to the wider community that our sacrifices are being taken seriously. Thank you.
Ned Acker.
Esteemed school board members, superintendent, senior staff, I trust you're aware that Katharina Merlob teaches world history immersion, government and economic immersion at Samo High. She is 1/2 of what is left of our program after losing science some years ago and math 2 years ago. Now we are literally on the verge of extinction. The other half of the program is yours truly, and I will retire in the not too distant future. Kat replaced both Danny Escalera and Jaime Jimenez when they retired as a means to continue our program to be the future of immersion. Without Kat, the program dies. She also qualifies under much of the skipping criteria that the district itself has created. If the district is serious about the viability of our immersion program at the high school, as you proclaim time and time again, then we have to acknowledge that Kat is the future. She is young, energetic, talented, speaks flawless Spanish, and is certificated, as well as an avid. At her hearing, the district administrative law judge plain and simply lied to the BOE or have themselves been lied to. Please hear this. You were told that there are others qualified and willing to teach social studies immersion at SAMO. Really? Who are these qualified and willing teachers with both history and bilingual credentials? Did they or you investigate this? The answer is no. Kat and I are literally the only ones at SAMO High. It is an absolute fiction that others exist to fill Kat's role. I cannot, nor will I be the entirety of the immersion department at SAMO. It's an absurdity to have a one-person department. We will then only have a K-8 program at that point, and our district's standing will be greatly diminished. There is a waiting list to get into Edison every year, and immersion is the path to closing the achievement gap according to all available data. I've been working over the last year plus with immersion teachers and administrators at every level to revitalize the immersion program. The elimination of Kat's position goes in the exact opposite direction. This termination proves.
Is that?
Can I finish? I'm asking you for the sake of the viability of the immersion program at SAMO High, both long-term and short, to retain Kat Merlob because she is the future of our program at SAMO High.
Muted. Ruby Sunshine Vandenbrook, then Sarah Tropia, followed by Katharina Merlob.
Hello, my name is Ruby Sunshine Vandenbrook. Today I joined this meeting in order to discuss a specific teacher I had in my past who is being affected by the teacher layoff at Santa Monica High School, Miss Valentina, who now goes by Miss Merlob. I have prepared a short written piece I would like to share. Being an immersion student of 12 entire years, I've had many different experiences when taking in information in Spanish and, more importantly, using what I've learned in my studies. My first language is English, and this has always been a problem through my years when learning Spanish. It has been difficult in my past years as a bilingual student when processing material in a second language. Although I was only able to have Miss Merlob for 1 year, I have truly learned my most while taking her course. Her teaching style makes everything easier to understand for students that are taking 2 languages. I am proud to say that I have learned my most about social studies and overall history when sitting in Miss Merlob's classroom at John Adams Middle School. I am also positive that whichever course she is able to teach in the future, she will put all of her energy into helping her students learn the most that they possibly can. Miss Merlob is the ideal teacher that I hope and pray my younger siblings are able to learn from while being a part of the immersion program at Santa Monica High School. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Tropia, followed by Katharina Merlob, and then Laura Ford.
Hi, sorry, let's just close the door so that you don't hear other stuff. Thank you. Okay, so this is the second time in 5 days that I spent time here with you, and I'm hoping to persuade you to do the right thing by our teachers and the students that they are dedicated to teaching. And I gotta say, after last week's meeting, I felt pretty disheartened by the condescension with which many of you spoke to us, your constituents. We understand budgets. We live by them in our homes, and we live by them in our works. And we also understand we have to prioritize. And from my perspective, you all have shown that you have not prioritized the teachers by not first demonstrating to us what cuts are being made elsewhere first before you issue and follow through with these pink slips. So apart from that general comment, I want to speak on behalf of 2 of my daughter's exceptionally talented teachers, Louis Capra and Sarah Paulus. Mr. Capra is a SAMO High graduate, and I just want to say, as a SAMO High grad myself, it's a bit of an indictment that we don't keep someone who is a SAMO High grad at our school. He teaches history in freshman seminar, and this is a class that my daughter had with him. I would note that many students complain about freshman seminar, and my daughter never did, not once. In fact, in his class, he managed to engage a whole bunch of 14 and 15-year-olds in subject matters like racism, class, and consent, and have them engage and speak and learn from one another. A very difficult thing to do with a bunch of 14 and 15-year-olds. I would say he really connects with students and challenges them to think and write and communicate. My daughter learned a ton from him, and it would really be a shame if you were allowed him to leave. I would also add that as a member of the Frosh-Soft team, my daughter Scarlett had the privilege of being coached by Coach Paulus. She's incredibly warm and kind and really dedicated to her players. She created an environment in which the girls strove to grow as soccer players, as students, and as people. She counseled my daughter, who unfortunately got a broken arm early in the season, how to best make it through the season when it wasn't what she expected. And I understand that these talents she brings to her English classes as well. So I would just ask that you consider that these teachers are the main reason, the most important resource that we have. And without them, an education is sort of, that's it. That's all we really need is good teachers in the classroom and reasonable class sizes. The rest of the stuff is superfluous. So thank you.
Thank you. Katharina Merlob, then Laura Ford, then Eleanor Hutman.
Good evening. As you know, my name is Katharina Valentina Merlob, and I am one of the teachers you intend to lay off this week, despite the fact that the #1 skipping criteria for the teachers set by the district is whether they teach in the immersion program. I spoke last week about my role in the program since 2008 and how I see my future here in improving upon the incredible program at the secondary level. This is something I can achieve with the help of my colleagues and utilizing my unique experience of having taught all but one social studies class at this district. The immersion program here is a reason many moved to Santa Monica, and you're about to let an essential part of the secondary level go. And why? Because I had to decide whether or not to stay home with my infant child for one more year. I can only assume most of you recognize the immense value in a mother being able to spend these early critical months at home with her infant. This past year up until March 12th has been a dream, 11 years in the making. I teach amazing classes, and I am surrounded by inspiring coworkers and remarkable students, kids that I have missed every single day of this quarantine. My freshman seminar students inspire me daily, and I'm continually impressed by their kindness, knowledge, and intellect. My world history immersion students, whom I taught in 6th and 7th grade, teach me through their respect, compassion, and love for each other how to be a better person, and I cannot imagine not teaching them again. My immersion seniors, with whom I have forged incredible bonds and whose grace, camaraderie, and reverence for each other fill me with faith. I have heard from every single one of my students during this difficult time, and every occasion I speak to my superb group of kids gives me hope that the future is bright. They make me want to work harder. I love my job. Every day I used to look forward to driving to work. I value this place and my role in it. I ask you, please do not take away from me. Do not take away my Santa Monica family, because it has made me the woman I am now and today. My removal will be a detriment of both to the students and this program. I ask that you please use the #1 skip criteria that directly applies to me and reconsider your decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Laura Ford, Eleanor Hutman, and Gladys Caldera.
Hi. Just need a breath. That was amazing, Kat. Hi, I'm Laura Ford, and I think you all know how I feel about these teacher layoffs. I think I've made it abundantly clear these past few months. So what I would like to do with my time tonight is to ask all of you on this call to think about the teachers whose jobs are at stake tonight. You might know them, you might not. I've gotten to know a number of them, and they are all wonderful. Justin Ross is my son's English teacher. I know him very well. But I've also gotten to know English teachers like Sarah Paulus and Alana Rivera, history teachers like Kat Merlob and Lucas Capra, math teachers like Kavan Shipley, Alana Rivera, Alana is English, sorry, and Kathleen Francisco Flores. PE teacher and our very own football coach who turned this team around, Matt Kirk, and librarian media teacher and Spanish reading interventionist Stephanie Tovar. And those are only the names I know. There are 16 more people on that list, 16 more teachers. Let's just think about all 24 teachers tonight. We're in a pandemic. All 24 teachers who are at risk of losing their jobs. School board, come on, guys, please. You can make a change. We need hope. Our kids need hope. Are we to show our kids that this is how we treat our teachers? Our kids are our future, and our teachers are leading us to this future. Anything, cut anything, but please don't cut our teachers. Let's make the right choice tonight. Do it for our community, do it for our country, do it for our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Eleanor Hutman, Gladys Caldera, then QUETZALLI, Margarita Lopez.
Hutman, and I'm an immersion senior at Santa Monica High School, and I will be attending Wesleyan University in the fall. I'm here tonight to fight for Miss Valentina's job and thus by extension, Santa Monica's immersion program. Tonight and always, the immersion community is united, virtually holding hands and standing up for the universal values that the program has taught us. We value our educational and cultural experience, the power of unity, and above all, change and progress. My immersion family and I have shared so much. We have danced and sung together, built altars in honor of lost loved ones together for Dia de los Muertos. Together, we have read the beautiful words of Gabriel Garcia and the breathtaking poetry of Julia de Burgos. We are bound together through two languages, juntos a través de dos idiomas. We studied and celebrated the peaceful strikes led by Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta to secure better treatment and pay for farm workers. Their example is proof to me that a united, value-driven effort in the name of progress is a worthwhile fight. Finally, our program is the embodiment of that progress. Less than 100 years ago, a program built on Spanish cultural and linguistic immersion would have been inconceivable. In California, where more than half of the population speaks Spanish, this program should not be seen as an extra or something that comes to the chopping block. It is a necessity, a representation of the accepting and forward-thinking community we live in. To lay off Miss Valentina, who supports, inspires, and completes our program, is to dismiss this community's value of change and progress. At Edison, we finished our elementary school years by joining in song and singing Todo Cambia, or Everything Changes by Mercedes Sosa. The board has acknowledged that everything is changing. We are living in momentous times that will alter our world. Thus, while change is inevitable, it is the responsibility of the board to make sure that this change move us forward and not backward. Following a year which saw several immersion teachers retire, the educators we have left are more important than ever. I implore you to rescind Miss Valentina's pink slip and save our immersion program, which is not only an asset, but a necessity to our community. Thank you.
Let's see, thank you. Since I can't see any of you, I don't know if you're aware that you're next. QUETZALLI, Margarita Lopez, then Elizabeth Garcia, and then Leslie De Pablo.
Good evening. My name is QUETZALLI Lopez. I'm a alumni from Samuel High, representing Ms. Merlob, or as I know her, Ms. Valentina. I've been in the immersion program for most of my life. My first language is Spanish, and I can't tell you what an honor it is to be in this program. I've actually been in different school districts. I kinder through 4th grade, I was in the Montebello School District, and I remember a time when parents were protesting to get rid of the immersion program, and you know, it was heartbreaking to me, and ended up moving from that school district to LAUSD. And by the time I got to LAUSD, I was not able to be in the immersion program, and it was really, I kind of like struggled because there was an imbalance in English and Spanish, and my first language is Spanish, so I struggled a lot with my classes, and I'm sorry, I'm really nervous. And it was just a really difficult transition, and starting middle school for the first time in Santa Monica, not knowing anyone, and just my first day of school with starting my day with Miss V. I immediately fell in love with her teaching and just the way she connects with our students, and how, like, I guess she made me feel important to the community, not knowing anyone there. And if it wasn't for her, I don't think I would have been able to have the friends that I have today, and just being proud of who I am today. And she's really shaped me to be such an amazing person. And I really beg you guys to please not let her leave, because she's been a really big part of my life. And after she left 7th grade for maternity leave, it really broke my heart, because things weren't the same anymore. And it was such a pleasure to finally have her this year. And I'm sorry. Yeah. Thank you.
So yeah, I was going to say thank you so much. It's very strange speaking in this format, but we appreciate you taking the time to give us some comments, and thank you so much.
Yes, I was going to say the same. Thank you so much. Elizabeth Garcia, Leslie DePablo, and then Jocelyn Zapata.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm an Edison parent, and I really appreciate hearing all the love that everybody's calling in about the immersion program and all the amazing teachers that they have in the future in the high school and the middle school. And in particular, we have amazing teachers at Edison, and I know one of them, Stephanie Tovar, is up to be cut, and I'm hoping that you don't cut her, because she really supports the kids in learning how to read, and that's at the foundation of where they're going to go in the future in middle school and high school. And I know she works at the high school level also, helping the kids there. There's other ways to work on a budget. There's furlough days. There's pay cuts that the administration can take that could probably help immensely with the budget. So I just urge the school board to look for, thinking out of the box and look for different ways to work on the budget and keep our teachers that we love and that we need, help them continue to help our kids. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Leslie DePablo, Jocelyn Zapata, hannadelarosa.
Hello, my name is Leslie DePablo, and I am a current sophomore at Santa Monica High School. I am speaking on behalf of the final decision being made today regarding Miss Merlob being pink slipped. Hearing that she was pink slipped truly made me sad, and many of my other classmates. I knew her before she was Miss Merlob. My classmates and I knew her as Miss Valentina, and she continues to allow us to call her Miss V. That alone proves the special relationship we have with her. Most of us think of her as our second mother. I had her as a teacher in 6th and 7th grade at John Adams Middle School before she went on maternity leave. When my immersion class found out she would teach our world history immersion class at Semo High, we were beyond excited. We were all finally reunited. She is such a wonderful teacher, always has a smile on her face, and is supportive at all times. My favorite quote of hers is, "The sky is the limit." She makes learning fun for my classmates and me. She knows the learning style of everyone, as we have known her for a very long time, and is able to cover all styles for us. Another reason why she is such an amazing teacher is that she is one of the few teachers that represent Latinos in the immersion program. I have been in the immersion program since I was 3 years old, and I am so grateful. Everyone is like family. If she is gone, chances are there will be nobody else to teach history or economics and government in Spanish. Our immersion family will slowly fade away. Just thinking about it breaks my heart, as most of us in the immersion program grew up together and have learned a lot from each other. Having her as a teacher is such a pleasure. She truly cares about her students and goes out of the way to help us when most of the time she does not even need to, but does it out of the love she has for us. Every day, not only does she teach us history material, but she encourages us to be a better person and gives us motivation on our hard days. I wish for my little cousins and other young students to eventually have her as a teacher. We have shared many laughs and cries, and to this day, we like to recall memories we had with her in middle school. With all due respect, letting her go would be a huge mistake. She is the only teacher I can trust. My friends and I go to her with our personal problems. I think it is important to recognize that having a trusted adult on campus is very helpful in many ways. My classmates and I have so much love for Ms. Merlob. I have had many teachers and there is no other like her. Like many, I really look forward to having her as a teacher again in my senior year. Please consider my words when making the decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jocelyn Zapata, Hannadelarosa, Bethania Larios. Oh, wait. Did I miss you? Did I see a note that says somebody raised their hand? Gladis Caldera, did she not speak? I can't see everyone, which is why this is making it difficult.
Yeah, Laurie, I do think we skipped Gladys Caldera by mistake.
Okay, so why don't we have her speak now, and then we'll go on with, I think we're on
Jocelyn Zapata.
Right.
Good afternoon. My name is Gladys Caldera. I am a current junior at Samo High. I'm speaking on behalf of Katharina Valentina Merlob. Ms. Valentina, now known as Ms. Merlob, made a huge impact in my life in 7th grade. I have been enrolled in the immersion program since preschool. In 7th grade, I was put into a non-immersion English history class, and Ms. Merlob did everything she could do to get me back into the immersion program because she knew how important it was to me. Without her help, I wouldn't be in the immersion program today. The immersion program is very important to me since I am a first-generation student with parents that only speak Spanish. This program is not only important, but it has also allowed me to learn 2 languages and also represent both cultures. So when I was back into the program in 7th grade, I was extremely happy. She isn't just an important teacher to me in my immersion class, but also to my fellow alumni, such as my other older brothers that were also taught by her. Another reason why I appreciate Ms. Merlob is because she is one of the few teachers that proudly represent Latin culture in the immersion program, which is an important trait that an immersion teacher needs. It is very important to consider that future students might not have the chance to be in the immersion program and class, meaning that in the future the immersion program will not exist. You aren't just getting rid of an amazing teacher, but also putting our immersion program at risk. You're getting rid of a teacher that not only is passionate and dedicated, but someone who truly cares and works hard. You will not be able to find someone else like her. Since I am a junior, my classmates and I are excited to take economics and government with Ms. Merlob this upcoming year. Getting rid of Ms. Merlob will not only affect us, her students, but also our parents. Most of our parents came from a Spanish-speaking country, and enrolling us into a program that benefits that is amazing. Our parents have so much trust with Ms. Merlob, and if you really care for a program that has benefited so many students and families, you will want her to stay at Samo High. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'm so sorry for missing you. It's hard to follow this because I don't know what your screen looks like, but mine only has 10 names on it, including my own. Anyway, now we'll hear from Jocelyn Zapata, Hannadelarosa, then Bethania Larios. We hope we will.
She's on mute.
Jocelyn, I just unmuted you, so if you're here, try to speak.
Hi, good evening. My name is I am not one for public speaking, and I only do it if it matters. Today it matters. When I heard the news that Ms. Valentina, now referred to as Ms. Merlob, got pink slip, like many others, I was sad. Ms. Valentina was my teacher in middle school, and the short time I had her, I was able to get to know one of the best teachers ever. This year, I was able to get to know Ms. Valentina, and she's one of the best faculty at SAMO. She's hardworking, kind, and generous. Ms. Valentina is the one teacher at SAMO that makes me feel a part of the community. Although I'm not in her class this year, she informs me of everything she teaches and grows my knowledge. The immersion program is a unique program SAMO has, and you can't take that apart. Ms. Valentina is our family, and if you take her away from our family, we'll be destroyed. She's a vital part of the immersion program, and without her, the program will not exist. Ms. Valentina helps bring diversity into Santa Monica, teaching Spanish history classes to so many diversities that bring us together. She makes you feel a part of a community and feel special. At SAMO, I feel lost and different, but Ms. Valentina helps me embrace my differences. You cannot let her go. Please, think about the kids, not the money. Thank you.
Thank you. Hannah, then Bethany Larios, then Sarah Braff.
Hi, my name is Hannadelarosa, and I will be speaking about Ms. Merlob, or as I met her, Ms. Valentina. I have been educated by SMMUSD since preschool, and I can honestly say that Ms. Valentina is one of the best teachers I have ever met. I got her for the first time in 6th grade and 7th grade for jams, at Jams for Humanities. From the get-go, I could tell she was an amazing teacher. I absolutely loved her class. She has always been an organized, composed, passionate, and loving teacher. Furthermore, she created all kinds of projects and assignments that were meant to make sure that we didn't just memorize the dates, but we truly comprehended the history we were learning. She just fostered the perfect environment for us to thrive. Now I am a sophomore, and she teaches world history for immersion students at SAMO High. As years pass, she continued to have a passion for teaching that I rarely see in teachers. Her love for each and every student can be seen in the way she addresses us and cares for us. She has always greeted everyone with a smile, even if she's having a tough day. She tells us how she feels and tells us about real issues going on around the world, as she believes that knowledge is power. She has equipped every single one of her students with the skills we need to succeed academically, all while enlightening us with her wisdom. She's just remarkably kind, smart, resilient, and full of life. I one day hope to be as smart and as successful as she is. Please, I ask you to not fire her. I understand you have issues, but do not let her go. You hired Ms. Valentina because she deserves to work at SAMO High and is a great asset to the school. Do not fire her, because I guarantee you that you will not find another teacher like Ms. Valentina. Without her, SAMO High could lose the immersion program. Personally, the immersion program helped shape who I am and has had a huge and positive impact on my life. Everyone in that program is a family, and as a whole, we will fight for Ms. Valentina to keep doing what she loves. I also wanted to speak on Kevon Shipley and Sarah Paulus. Mr. Shipley has worked very hard to become a teacher, and his class has taught me a lot in very creative ways. Ms. Paulus was my coach for soccer, and I could truly see the passion she has for the sport. Please don't let go of any of these teachers, because they deserve to work at SAMO High. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bethany Larios, followed by Sarah Braff, and then Jackie Stansbury.
Can I speak now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So my name is Bethany Larios. I am a sophomore at Santa Monica High School. This year, we're lucky enough to have our immersion history teacher. I had Ms. Valentina in 7th grade for one semester, and she was one of those teachers that pushes her students to do their best because she sees potential in each and every one of her students. Back then, I thought she was a hard, and now in high school, I realized she was pushing me to be stronger for high school, because barely any teachers nowadays really cares if you do good, and they also make you feel that they expect you to know everything. That's why when I found out I was going to have Miss Valentina as my teacher again, I was happy. She's the person that makes me feel safe and comfortable going to talk to her. She makes students feel heard, and I have never had the feeling of being left behind in her class. She makes everyone feel included and uses different ways of learning. She makes the time for her students so they can learn like making projects, puzzle games, and stations. And everyone is safe and comfortable and learning. And if you are taking away a teacher that makes your students want to learn and succeed, taking away the chances of future students, immersion students, and impacting the whole immersion program. I promise you that teachers like Miss Valentina are hard to find, and there's no one like her. And she may not know this, but she's the reason I want to succeed and do great. Taking away someone so amazing affects us now and the future. And ask yourself, is money really worth more than the better future of students? Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Sarah Braff, and then Jackie Stansbury, then Janet Heinzle.
Hi. We've had, somebody's phone is going off. We've had this conversation about relationships, about connections, about the importance of both. Never more important than at this moment. We understand there are some ratio issues. We get it. But we also get that this is an area of social justice. We have been saying for at least the last 20 years, if not the last 30, that we want to hire more teachers of color and more teachers who are able to represent our students and our student body. We don't have very many, and many have left either for whatever reason. And so when we have people that are adding to our wealth of culture and style and learning, we need to keep those. And we need to keep not just Miss Merlob and Miss V, because there are many others that don't have students here tonight, but are just as important and just as skilled and just as needed. We never said anything for all the non-reelects. Non-reelects are people who didn't make it through. They weren't the quality that we had hoped to have. And we never said a word because we understand we want the highest quality. And these teachers are the highest quality, and we want to keep them and do whatever we can. Are there other positions? What can we do? We have to be able to think outside the box and say, these people are important to us. They're an important piece of fabric of our school family, and we need to keep them. And so I ask you, as both for social justice and for keeping all cuts as far away from the classroom as possible, to bring back as many teachers as is humanly possible. And I mean humanly, and that takes us right to the edge. And I understand that. Next year, we understand there's going to be other cuts, there's going to be other problems. It's going to be a whole different world. But at least we will have this year to prepare for that without losing our essence and our soul. So please, keep our teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Jackie Stansbury, Janet Heinzle, and then Shelly Ehrke.
Okay, I hope everybody can hear me. The district should not be moving forward with the under-enrolled project-based learning high school while simultaneously firing teachers. The PBL school is a luxury project we cannot afford. You present it as cost neutral, not true. We are already paying a high price for this folly as SMMUSD's board and administration have chosen to devote time and energy to PBL while ignoring the needs of our existing schools and programs, in particular, immersion. I have never been prouder to be an immersion parent than I am tonight, listening to our incredible students. These are tomorrow's leaders. Listen to the eloquence with which our immersion students advocate for Ms. Valentina Merlob. The immersion program has been a great gift to these students. Do not take it away. Let Ms. Valentina Merlob lead the high school in improving immersion, and let's keep her and this program going. Thank you.
Thank you. Janet, then Shelly Ehrke, then Chris Allen.
Hi. I spoke at the meeting last week, and I just really here in support of all the teachers who have been given pink slips today, specifically two that my son has had the pleasure of being with this year. I'd like to write a letter that my son wrote. He's just a little nervous to read it, so he's given me his permission. To whom it may concern, I'm very frustrated that there are amazing teachers being put on the chopping block when there are other ways to save money throughout the district. First of all, Mr. Ross, I have him for HP English 9. He is easily the best English teacher I've ever had and bonds with all of his students and makes learning fun. Even though his class is difficult, it's getting us prepared for what will become in sophomore year. He is all around such a nice person and one of the best teachers I have ever had. And second of all, Mr. Capra, who is my freshman seminar teacher, is one of the most intelligent and understanding people I've ever talked to. My class has asked him so many questions spread throughout so many topics. He is easily the most intelligent teacher I have and is just around an all-easy person to talk to. Almost every person that is in his class enjoys being there every single day. I just hope that you can take this into consideration, because these are two teachers that I will always keep fighting for, because these are two of the teachers that have most impacted my academic life. Sincerely, Fritz Heinzle. He's had a wonderful year. And I just want to say that teachers are the most valuable investment a district can make, and cutting teachers like these is like tripping over dollars to pick up pennies when there are so many other ways to cut money from the budget. I understand the want and the need to try the PBL school experiment, but we all learned in science class that experiments have a hypothesis, a theory, and a conclusion when you look at the results. And we cannot, for the expense of 3,700 students at Santa Monica High School, when we're looking at how small the enrollment is, everyone's talking about enrollment. PBL has got exceptionally low enrollment and is taking a lot of funds away from funds that can be used to keep these most amazing teachers in our district. I remember specifically, and I said this last week, I remember specifically leaving back to school night when my son's freshman year started, saying, I understand so clearly how happy he is at school after meeting those teachers, specifically meaning Mr. Capra and Mr. Ross. These two men connect with the students in a way that it is not easy to do in a class full of 14 and 15-year-olds, to keep them engaged. My son wanted to drop HP English at the beginning of the school year, and after several conversations with Mr. Ross and encouragement, he is now grading at 89%. He is 1% away from an A in HP English. If he had not had the benefit of Mr. Ross there that day to really talk him around, he would have gone to a regular English class and sailed through, and we would never have known his full potential. And Mr. Capra, Fritz comes home with tales of things he's learned from him day in, day out. That is just not textbook. You can't teach teachers to be great. They are great, or they're not. And these are great teachers. And I know there are many great teachers whose names are on pink slips or being cut simply like Mr. Ross. And we really should be doing every single thing within our power to keep these amazing teachers in our district. That's what I'm here to say. I will fight tooth and nail to the end, and I know my son would too. I have a daughter in 5th grade. I'm a very big public school advocate, but the teachers are the backbone. We have to find other ways to cut money from the budget. The teachers have got to stay. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Shelly Ehrke, Chris Allen, and then Fiona Angus.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? Okay. So many powerful words of support tonight. It's amazing. I'm also speaking in support of our dedicated professional educators and asking this board to refrain from cutting any teaching positions and to rescind all RIF notices. We've been giving multiple justifications for the need to cut these teaching positions, mainly to reduce spending and realignment based on declining enrollment. When it comes to reducing spending, plenty of options have been suggested for doing so without making cuts that directly impact our students and the quality of the educational experience we can give them. Cuts can include the bloated, unnecessary outside consultant contracts, reducing excessive administrative travel budget and stipends, reducing PD to only that which is state mandated, reducing the amount of non-state mandated testing, eliminated pathway administrative positions, rethinking the PBL school, et cetera, et cetera. As for realignment due to declining enrollment, I'd like to remind this board that the staff to student ratio numbers often presented do not reflect the reality in our classrooms. We currently have middle school classrooms stuffed with 33, 34, 35, 36 students, and that is already shamefully high, harming the quality of feedback and connections teachers can make, both of which are research-backed indicators of student success. Realignment via teacher cuts would be pushing these class sizes to the upper limits of what is contractually allowed, 37 for middle school in my instance. What's one of the big factors why parents send their kids to private school? Class sizes. If we have classrooms bursting with 37 students, we risk a further decline in enrollment. In thinking about the return to school in the fall with the ongoing COVID crisis that will require social distancing measures, we will need to be fully staffed at current levels. We will need every experienced SMMUSD teacher we have to navigate the challenges of what the new reality may look like, including the possibility of only being able to have 10 to 12 students in a classroom. Finally, the current pandemic and resulting economic crisis is the cruelest time to balance a budget on the back of our dedicated educators. Thrusting them into an uncertain future with a loss of income and healthcare when jobs may be scarce next year is callous and unnecessary at this time. Please keep our SMMUSD's families strong and together and rescind all rifts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chris Allen, Fiona Angus, and Roberta Brown. Are we looking for Chris Allen?
I don't see his name.
I don't see him either. If Chris Allen does come back to the meeting, if he or she could let us know, and we'll get the comment in then.
Sounds good. Okay, then let's move to Fiona Angus, then Roberta Brown, and then Neil Daniels.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. I thank you, Board of Directors. I am speaking tonight just to keep all of our teachers, but one in specifically is Coach Matthew Kirk. Our family is riding, our entire family is riding to keep this wonderful coach at Santa Monica High. Santa Monica is renowned for its music, its arts, its immersion, as you've heard from the students tonight, its wonderful theater program, but less known for its athletic programs. And in the recent years, Coach Kirk has developed such a strong football program that Samo High is now getting the attention that it deserves. And it's because of this attention that my son decided that Samo High was a good choice for him to attend and play 4 years of high school with the dreams of being a collegiate football player. We live in this town, we live in Santa Monica, we came to this high school for this very reason. So my son's football freshman year was fraught with many challenges from a junior varsity coach that was terrible to him. And Coach Kirk stepped in and he mentored my son, and he made it possible for him to want to come back and play football again. You know, Coach Kirk is just, he's a friend, he's a mentor, he's a motivator, he's a supporter, he's a father figure to all these kids, and he's their #1 fan. Without him, this program's going to die. And where do our kids go who want to play college football? Where else do they go? Nowhere. So any athlete looks back on the coach that made them who they are today. I played collegiate athletics, and a lot of people did in this town. We can all look back on that one person that was that one motivating factor. Coach Kirk is potentially that person He could be that. He is that person for these children. And without him, this program may not even exist. And I don't think that that's fair, that you can do that to our children. I don't think, this is where we live. We live in Santa Monica. It's a wonderful school, and we owe it to Coach Kirk, and we owe it to our children, and we owe it to the community as a whole to build a wonderful athletic program. So please consider, all the teachers are important, every one of them. I mean, I'm a healthcare provider. I'm working as a nurse. I'm homeschooling my kid. Being a teacher is tough. I don't want, listen, I'm on the front line, they're on the front line. We need to band together. Now is not the time during this pandemic to be doing this. Everybody, we need, these children are our future, seriously. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much. Roberta Brown, Neil Daniels, and then Wendy Dembo.
Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
You are, we can hear you.
Thank you. So I had to pull myself together for a second time in a week because our amazing immersion kids moved me to tears for the second meeting in a week. I know and love every single one of the extraordinary kids that you saw speak. And that's because the kids who have been addressing you have basically all been from the immersion program. And that's because immersion teachers turn out amazing young adults, but they expressed that better than I could. So I think their point has clearly been made. I spoke last week, and at that time, John Keane chided us for not providing specific suggestions of cuts to pay for the teachers that we were asking you to save. Now, it's difficult to make these suggestions without having access to the full budget, but I think I get that the general rule of thumb is that we cannot cut stuff to pay for people. So this week I want to focus on people. My 10th grade son was listening last week to that 5-hour meeting over my shoulder, and he decided to go off and research in the public records how much each of the administrators recommending the teacher cuts earns. And I've got to call you all out because he discovered that each and every one of the administrators on this call who spoke last week makes double, triple, or more what his teachers earn. And he wants to know what each of you does for him that is worth 3 of his teachers. Since that's a rhetorical question, obviously, what he really wants are his teachers. He wants his inspirational English teacher, Ms. Paulus. He wants his uniquely, remarkably skilled, as you've seen, immersion teacher, Ms. Valentina Merlob, and all of the other wonderful people that other people are speaking about who have a direct impact on his education and on his future. And if we need to find the money to pay for keeping them, my son is asking that the administrators making $200,000 to $300,000 a year take a pay cut, like people all over this country are having to do. This is a really hard time. We are all making sacrifices. Please put your money where your mouth is. If it's as important to you as you say it is, if you really understand us as I think you do, please do what we have to do to keep our teachers on the job. Let's make the cuts where we can afford to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Neil Daniels, Wendy Dembo, and then Kathleen Foss.
Wow. Good evening, and thank you for having me. This is my first time in this forum and dealing with a situation like this. So I'm slightly overwhelmed from what I'm hearing from all the other speakers, and I'm getting pretty much caught up to speed on what's going on. And it's amazing to hear that at the lowest level, the administration and school board decided to take money away and teachers' jobs away. Specifically, my son plays football. Coach Kurt is being affected by this. He's doing a wonderful job mentoring my son during this pandemic, making phone calls, making sure that he's able to reach out to collegiate coaches for next year. But to hear that he and others are possibly losing their jobs, where it affects our children directly. It's like you have a garden in the backyard, and for that garden to grow, you need to give it water, but you decide to wash your high-end car and let the garden go to waste. You only have a certain amount of water, but you don't want to nourish that garden. Allow it to grow and flourish during this time. You want it to be negatively affected by taking away these jobs. For the teachers who have hands-on, they're hands-on with our children directly. And like the previous speaker had said, if we have to make cuts, start up top. Don't start at the bottom, start at top, so that we have more time to figure out how to make proper budget cuts. Not some rush job where it's easier to eliminate these people here because it doesn't affect me as the policymaker, but it does affect the thousands of kids who those teachers do touch. It's unfortunate, and we need to do something about it, and it needs to happen soon. So let's reevaluate the budget cuts and make sure that it doesn't affect the kids directly. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wendy Dembo, then Kathleen Foss, and then Sarah Barrett. Wendy, Sarah, can you find her?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Hi. I just want to say that I ran into Coach Jackie, who is my daughter's PE coach from kindergarten through 5th grade at Franklin. And she's been teaching in the Santa Monica school for 15 years. She's my daughter's favorite teacher, and she was worried about getting a pink slip. I don't know if she did. It just seems outrageous that you're cutting these people who give so much to all these kids and are paid so little in comparison to all the administrators. Everybody I know currently who works for large companies has taken anywhere from a 20, 50 to even 100% pay cut. And the fact that the administrators are still keeping your large salaries and also continuing to pay all of your consultants. I am friends with a superintendent of the Burbank school, and he doesn't have the budget to hire consultants. They have to figure things out on their own. And so the money they have goes to the kids, to the students. You know, that's why I don't understand. Do you know, I moved to Santa Monica so my daughter could go to school here because I heard the schools are good. At this moment, LAUSD has Zoom classes every day, all day. My daughter has class for 2 hours, 4 times a week, so that her teachers can prepare on Friday. I don't understand what's happening. And then you want to cut the teachers. You barely are having the teachers teach. We need more teachers to teach more, not less teachers. You know, whatever is going to happen in the fall, it's going to be very different. You're going to need teachers. And I bet there are going to be some elderly or older teachers who are going to decide to retire because it's not going to be safe for them to be teachers. So the fact that you're getting rid of young, vibrant teachers when in a few months you may have some people who voluntarily leave, it's silly. You're just being silly. Thanks.
Thank you. Kathleen Foss, Sarah Barrett, and then Sarah Paulus.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Kathleen Foss. I'm a teacher at Santa Monica High School and also a parent in the district. I have a 6th grader and a 9th grader. And I just want to speak on all of the teachers that are on the chopping block are mostly my colleagues at Samo High, but I'd just like to speak overall about the importance of teachers at this time. But before I do that, I want to thank everyone in the district for their efforts on behalf of our kids at this time. I know it's been a struggle, and certainly the amount of work you've done is a testament to how much you care about the hearts and minds of our kids. And I can tell you that the single most important resource for my own kids has been that contact with their teachers. Yeah, my husband and I are working hard to help them process this whole crisis. But it's that connection with their teachers, the daily check-ins, the creative and engaging lessons that they're trying to teach over a really unfamiliar medium that has had the most impact. And the news tells us that this COVID-19 is not going away. And when school starts again in the fall, most likely, it will be fairly similar to what we're experiencing now. And our students will need more support. And so it is not the time to cut those people who are the most important to our kids. So I think we can do with fewer pencils and fewer consultants and whatever. But what we can't do without is teachers. So I ask that you find a better way to make your budget cuts than cutting the things that matter the most to our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Barrett, Sarah Paulus, and then Ayana Pantalian.
Am I unmuted?
You are.
Great. Thank you. Well, before I start, let me just say if Katharina Merlob is still on, you are my hero. My kids are not immersion, but you've moved me to tears, as have your students. And I'm just blown away. Sometimes it feels bored that we don't hear each other, but I want you to know, I heard last week when you said we have big major cuts coming and money that we thought would be coming is not coming. $18 million, it's not coming. And I have to tell you, I understand we can't replace, take the money from stuff for teachers. So the only way we can make these cuts that I can see is to cut salaries from our very overpaid senior administration. And it would show a lot of support and show that you're all in this together with our teachers by taking that 20% cut, even during the pandemic. But the idea of saying you're true leaders and then sending your teachers out to take the hit is not the way to go. That just doesn't cut it. And the teachers are the ones making a difference for our students, not the administrators. And we need to make sure that they can continue to serve and support our kids. We need their energy, their passion, and we need them. My kids need them. And I am begging you to please not put teachers on the chopping block tonight. We'll look at it next year, whatever you need to do, but do not do this tonight. Somebody's phone is ringing.
The next speaker is Sarah Paulus. I'm sorry.
Actually, the timer, the speakers know their time is up.
Oh, very good. Well, I did it under time.
One out of order. Did we not go out of order here? Oh no, I'm sorry. I just
No,
have
you're fine. Sarah Paulus
twice
and Ayana.
surrounding Sarah Paulus. It's the way this is listed. That's fine. Sarah Paulus, then Ayana Pantalian, then Shayna Epstein Gutman.
Lovely colleagues, all my lovely former students, everybody on this. My name is Sarah Paulus, and I'm coming to the end of my second year in the SMM USD community and family. I'd like to start off by saying thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to work in this district and trusting me with imparting knowledge and wisdom on the children in this community. Thank you to my students and athletes for being vulnerable and willing to grow. Thank you to my students for challenging me, questioning me, and making me a better, more aware teacher. Thank you to my colleagues for the solidarity and positive messages of hope. Thank you, board members, for being at this meeting and taking the time to hear these concerns before you make the final vote. Thank you for being open to hearing the words people are expressing. I hope you have not made up your minds on what you will do when it is your time to vote, and truly listen to these voices. They are the ones that matter. I've invested my time and energy into this community. At work, people know me as someone who's willing to go above and beyond to address student, staff, and needs. I'm happy to do the work necessary to help students and staff succeed. I'm not interested in providing my resume or what I've done with my time at Samuel High. That work speaks for itself and in the lives of the students I teach and coach. I moved here from Chicago seeking to be closer to family and escape the brutal winters. However, those winters do not compare to how brutal this experience has been. The skipping criteria created by the district has created tension between members of the staff. Through the appeal process, we had to endure a virtual hearing that lasted nearly 6 hours, where attorneys argued that some people were more valuable to the district than others. It broke my heart to hear staff described in these ways. It broke my heart to listen to individuals who were pressed or cross-examined by Dr. Mora. Not only do I want you to rescind the pink slips, but I'd like you to know what the process you put us through is highly offensive. While I hope to remain in this district and continue the work I have been committed to over the past 2 years, I hope to work for a district who values its teachers. Every student needs at least one teacher to keep them engaged, sane, and feeling like they're capable of learning. Think about the teachers you're letting go. You, board members, and upper admin are highly educated and can be creative at times. Let's come up with an alternative, creative solution to cut the budget. Eliminating teachers is not the solution. I know I can be very emotional and vulnerable. However, I do not think that any of that and what I just shared was a weakness. And I hope you guys have heard the words that I've said and truly understand the impact that you are having on human beings in this district. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
We support you, Ms. Paulus.
Thank you very much. Next is Ayana Pantalian, followed by Shayna Epstein or Epstein Gutman, followed by Mel Pride.
Hello, thank you. My name is Ayana Pantalian, and I come to you this evening as an SMMUSD teacher, as well as a parent of 2 students who are at McKinley Elementary. The first word of the SMMUSD Board of Education mission statement is extraordinary. The SMMUSD Board of Education vision statement refers to our district as a community of learners. Today, I'm asking you to do something extraordinary for our community of learners by rescinding the pink slips for all teachers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sheena, and then Mel Pride, and then Rebecca Haggerty.
I don't see Shauna.
I don't see her either. If she comes back to the call, please let us know and we'll try to get it. If we're still doing comments, we'll get her comment in.
Okay, then that moves us to Mel Pride, who I can see a name for, and Rebecca Haggerty.
Hello, Superintendent Drati and board members. First, I'm speaking and asking you guys to rescind all pink slips for all our teachers. All our teachers matters. I mean, it's very sad to sit here as a parent and see our teachers so hurt and broken by this process. Jesse Ross, Matt Kurt, Sarah Paulus, all our teachers. They're very important. They're a big part of our children's day. You know, I sent an email earlier, and in my email I said, imagine if this was your job on the line. I did some research and I realized that we have a few board members that have re-election coming up this December. You guys have a chance to make a change here for our better of our kids, our children. And I'm just asking you, you guys are essentially the jury because it's ultimately in your hands to make this decision. We're asking you, if the shoe is on the other foot, which it will be soon, and we may be your jury. And how would you want us to vote? And I mean, this is hurtful. This is very hurtful. And with all the changes that's going on in the world today, we don't know what the federal government is going to mandate you guys to do next year as far as class sizes for our children. And we let go of all these tremendous teachers only to scramble at the last minute, which Santa Monica is known for doing. And our teachers. So I'm asking you to think twice and rescind all of the pink slips and do this for our kids. And I'm especially speaking, like I said last week, to Board Officer Oscar, Superintendent Drati, and John, Maria, and Ralph, who all have terms that are coming up soon in December. And we want to keep you guys there, but we need for you guys to also work and earn for you guys to sit here and present to us month after month, and in this case, it's been week after week, about our children. So think long and hard. Do what's right. Do what you guys are put in this position to do. And that's the fight for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Rebecca Haggerty, and then we have two more late chits. So those last two will get 1 minute apiece. Those two are Laisha Sands and Irene Solis. First, Rebecca Haggerty. I see a raised hand, but I don't have a chit if that's what it's raised to. I don't see anything. Sarah, maybe you can look at that.
Just a sec. You can adjust menu division setting.
Siri thought I was talking to her.
Are we looking for Rebecca?
We have Rebecca Haggerty.
I can't see. Oh, I see her. I'm unmuting her right now.
Well, that's what Mary said, is that at the very least, if she complains or if at some point someone understands she had back pain, they're going to give her an x-ray. Which, you know, as Mary Ellen said, she may have gotten an x-ray. You know, she went to the doctor before COVID, but she didn't share what the doctor said. I mean,
I don't think we're
speaker, hello. Somebody has their microphone on, and I'm not public comment. Hello?
It was Rebecca, but she doesn't, I guess she didn't hear her name being called.
Huh. Rebecca Haggerty?
Looks like she was on the phone.
Yeah. Again, I'll say the same thing. If she comes back on and we're still doing comment, we will work her comment in. Let's go to the next person, please.
Hi there, this is Irene Solis.
Okay, great.
Oh,
Thank
sorry.
you.
Okay, sorry, you guys can all hear me, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to speak on behalf of Coach Kirk. So I met Coach Kirk, I'm sorry, I just get very emotional, but I did meet Coach Kirk 3 years ago, or it's gonna be about 3 years ago when he joined SAMO. My son was a new freshman from Lincoln. My son has been playing football since he was 5 years old. He loves the game. He could not love Coach Kirk anymore, or probably so, who knows. He sees Coach Kirk as a father. My son has never met his father. And Coach Kirk has been so instrumental in his life, not only in his life, but such a huge support of mine. If I ever have any issues or concerns with, my son's academics or just any concern in life in general, he doesn't really have a father figure or a man figure in his life. So I really look up to Coach Kirk, and Coach Kirk has extended himself outside of his teaching, coaching field to be that person in my son's life. So I beg all of you guys to reconsider that, not only for my son, for all the athletes, for all the future college athletes. Samo High did not, as many of us know, have a competitive program. So Coach Kirk turned that around, and you guys should absolutely acknowledge that. It is super important for our kids. My son, I did write a letter to Dr. Drati and to most of the board members on this call. My son was not going to play there because I went through some financial issues and I was going to move out of the city, and I couldn't afford to have him there. So Coach Kirk, again, stepping up to the plate, offered housing. Who does that? That is amazing. So I stand with all the parents on this call, and I urge you guys to really reconsider, and just consider all of our comments on this call. It is important to our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, we skipped over Laisha Sands, if Laisha is there somewhere.
Laisha.
She's having problems logging on to the Zoom, so she's trying. So you can go to the next one and she should log on soon.
She is the last one, unless, let's see, Rebecca Haggerty, or who else did we miss? There were only a couple. Chris Allen, Rebecca Haggerty, I think.
And Shauna. Did we ever get Shauna?
Oh, and Shauna, which I pronounced Shana, but because I know someone named Shana. So those are the last speakers, and if none of them, or if any of them aren't here, please.
Is someone allowed to read Chris's letter? Chris is a veteran. He wrote a really great letter, and I don't know if someone's allowed to read it for.
No, not without his permission or his having been here or something.
I also have Aisha Sands on the phone.
Great.
So, Aisha.
Great. No, I read it as Laisha because there's an L. Oh, it's an I. I'm sorry, I mispronounced it. I misread it.
Yeah.
Aisha.
Can you?
I'm not able to get in. Can I please give my minutes to Alicia?
Actually, Aisha, we can hear you just fine over your phone. Can you make your public comment over your phone?
What can't you hear? What did you say?
We can hear you just fine over your phone, like you're speaking to us now. So if you could please make your comment over the phone, we can hear you.
She's choosing to pass her minutes to myself, is what she said.
Do you have her written statement?
Well, she's on the phone. You can hear her.
Yes, exactly.
And so she said she wants to pass her time.
Okay, let's just go ahead. Why don't you take her statement then?
I mean, you seem a little frazzled.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. I can hear her fine. If she wants to make her statement personally, we would love to hear from her. If she's not comfortable, you can make her statement for her.
Well, that was the thing she said.
I would feel more comfortable because I can't. It's breaking up on my end, so I can't listen.
So, did you hear that, John?
Yeah, please go ahead, Ms. Solis, and if you could do that, that's totally fine.
So she said it's breaking up on her end, so she could barely hear you. But she's calling because she's asking also, she has 2 students that are high school students at Santa Monica High, and she's asking that you rescind all pink slips as well. She has a son that plays football, and she has a daughter who's on the volleyball team, and her son also had Miss Paulus, who was greatly helpful to her son. And so, once again, as we ask, we're asking you guys to rescind all pink slips. Or, like everyone else and every parent in here has asked, that, for the 100K that over 100K that you board members are making, how about you guys take a cut to save our teachers for our children? Because I don't see any of you guys putting your feet in the fire to help our students day in and day out. I have yet to see, honestly, one of you guys on our campus. So, once again, really vote on rescinding these pink slips. And I'm sorry if I'm irritating you, John, because you seem a little annoyed.
No, I just want to let you know that the board is a volunteer position, and we receive a $440 a month stipend for a 20 to 30 hour a week volunteer job. And I'm not going to defend my own participation as a 4-year PTA president and as a chair of governance at 3 sites within the district and proud parent of 2 graduates of Samo High. But that's fine.
You know what? And
That's
I'm
fine,
glad.
man.
No, I'm actually, John, I'm glad that you said that, because you know what? I knew
Mr. Lees, we really cannot get into a conversation. If you email me, I promise you I will call you back and we will have a full conversation. I talk to a lot of people. Please email me your phone number. I will call you tomorrow, Thursday. We'll have a full conversation. We've got to move on with the meeting.
I will do that.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that.
And John,
Yes,
in all
ma'am.
fairness, I appreciate everything that you board members do. You, Oscar, Dr. Drati, all of you guys. I truly do appreciate it.
I look forward to your email and we will catch up. I promise you.
And
all right. So on that note, we are now.
No, wait, there's one thing I'm noticing. Melissa Solano is saying she's raised her hand. Melissa, I have you down as a speaker in general public comment.
Yeah, she sent an email about Malibu schools, so maybe she wants to talk to that in terms of Malibu future. But if she wants to talk about the item, it's her choice.
Yeah, you can speak on this item, Melissa, wherever you are, which I can't tell. If you'd rather speak on this, you can speak on this item, and maybe that's what you intended in the first place.
Ms. Lieberman, I think it all falls into the same realm.
Okay, then why don't you go ahead here? I think this is the time then.
I greatly appreciate the opportunity. So I'm going to start with saying it's no secret we here in Malibu have struggled with enrollment. We face tons of obstacles, and in the district's obligation to Malibu to stop the slide in enrollment, help us save our community, and do not place the Malibu schools at risk of closure. Our neighboring communities don't have this issue. Therefore, I lean to the district and ask we do not cut amazing teachers, because this will escalate the damage we're already facing with enrollment and the morale of the parents in the community. I plead we do not look to consolidate and max out class sizes, because the children are already facing hurdles during distance learning. The kids need that extra TLC in order to regain their confidence in learning and grow their brains without intimidation and unnecessary stress. Our kids, your kids, as the district deserves this right to thrive and flourish. We need to rebuild the confidence, joy, and most importantly, regain the trust. And I promise this will lead to a viable cure with enrollment if that's the topic. This to me would be the foundation we can at least start with and hold hands together to make this possible. I believe in what our schools can be here in Malibu, and I'm committed to helping in all aspects, but I cannot do this without leaning on the district to support the same vision. I don't want to accept the offer at Marquez and Palisades Charter, because I have discovered my own voice here at the school. I've discovered that I can help pioneer to make great changes and drive the fundraising capabilities here. Show love and spread love. Become what defines Malibu strong. But I ask you, do not abandon us here in this sleepy little beach town. I ask you, let this NYC girl help you guys. Help make a positive change, and can all look back and say we did this together. I have been nominated as 3rd VP of Ways and Means, but I promise to commit more of my time to help create positive morale and reach out to the Malibu Chamber and challenge them to step up by revisiting our academic and athletic programs. One of my biggest wishes is to also offer K-12 language programs. Wouldn't that be special to help create bilingual students in Malibu? So I ask, join me in the Malibu community and help invest the time, dire attention, and funds into promoting and nurturing the excellence in Malibu school, just as it would be done if we were a school board ourselves. I hope you truly take the time to think this through and realize Malibu schools are not created equal, and we just need some good old TLC. There's also a petition with over 300 people that feel the same way. I believe it's been sent to you already, but I plead you all, please change tonight, and please save my community. All right, I want to thank you all for your time. I want to thank you all for what you do, but most importantly, don't leave Malibu out to dry. Don't leave our kids out to dry. Thank you.
Thank you very
Melissa.
much.
Hey,
We have,
Laurie,
John, hold on. We have
Rebecca
one more
Haggerty's here, yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm trying
Great.
to.
Oh, okay, great.
Yes, I am. Thank you. I'm sorry. I had to step out for a moment. Thank you. My name is Rebecca Haggerty. I live in Santa Monica. I spoke last week as well. I have 2 kids in Santa Monica schools. My kids have had really excellent teachers. They've benefited from the counselors, the speech pathologists, all the other classroom personnel. I would say that I wanted to send my kids to Edison, and we were on the lottery list and we didn't get in. It's a very popular program, which makes it, I think, all the more important to really think hard about cutting back on that program. I've voted for every single measure in the 10 years I've lived in Santa Monica. Every single time I donate every year to the Ed Foundation. And, I understand this is a difficult time. And I know that there are probably more and more severe budget cuts coming. But I'm here to say that I urge you not to continue with these pink slips, to rescind the layoff notices, right? This is the time when we really need people to support students, right? We don't know what the fall is going to look like. It's very difficult. The students need a lot of support, and they're hard choices to make, but I would urge you to make other choices and to rescind the layoff notices for teachers, literacy coaches, counselors, speech pathologists, community liaisons, anyone whose position has a direct impact on the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think that concludes our speaker.
That concludes our public comment. And this might seem a little weird now that because we're on Zoom and we're not together as a group, but that was a very emotionally charged 90 minutes or so of some really heartfelt comments. And what I ask everybody to do right now is we're going to observe a moment of silence. And I would like everybody just to take the moment to center, to remember why we're here, what our intentions are, and what brings us all together. So if you could please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. This brings us to
John.
Yes, sir.
John, it's Richard. For a moment, I just really think that it's important that the school board conveys to the hundreds of people on this call that we aren't able to engage with the public speakers. Could you say something about the Brown Act and what we are allowed to do?
I apologize. I kind of did that.
I think
that's why I had a moment of silence.
Again.
Just so public comment means you can say whatever you want, and we are not supposed to respond to it except to ask a clarifying question. My apologies to Ms. Solis for not doing that. But yeah, so it's like we can't reply directly to you, but we can if. Anyway, sorry about that. But at this point now, before we move to discuss the item, I would like to take this time to ask clarifying questions. And I know whoever has their volume on, if we could please turn all the volumes off. Thank you. Just check your little microphone doohickey. I do have a clarifying question for Dr. Kelly, and it's about staffing. So have there been changes to our staffing ratio that is, if you could just explain that to me so I understand it and we all can understand it better.
Sure. So in aligning staffing to enrollment, one of the things that we use to determine how many teaching staffs to allocate to the school site are staffing ratios that have been adopted by the Board of Education. It's typically done as part of the board's adoption of its annual budget. For the last several years, and I would say since the implementation of the LCFF funding formula when we adopted the TK through 3 class size average 24:1, the staffing ratios remain unchanged. As we went into this process, they remained unchanged. So it's an incorrect statement to say that that we're increasing or decreasing staffing levels. What we are is adjusting for having fewer students. And what we have is we have the same staffing ratios in place that we've had in the last several years. So we have not changed that. What's different this year, as I've said before, is that we've been able to adjust and accommodate and absorb that adjustment necessary for declining enrollment by attrition, by voluntary separations, involuntary separations, retirement. We have not seen that materialize. That may still happen, and as that happens, we may be able to bring some of these positions back to adjust for that. But the staffing levels remain unchanged. As we go into the budget cycle in June, it is not likely that staff is going to be recommending any change to that. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you so much. Are there other members of the board who have clarifying questions that I can take at this time? I can see most of you, so if you want to raise a hand, I could call on you. Okay, lacking clarifying questions. Oh, Laurie, you have a clarifying question?
Yeah, I think I know the answer to this, but I really think this is a question for the benefit of the public, and I bet other board members would share this. I don't know who can answer this best, whether it's Dr. Kelly, Dr. Mora, or Dr. Drati, but there have been a lot of questions raised about the immersion program and its viability at Samo High and what the impact of these layoffs have on that. And so I want to have you ensure me and all of us that whatever we do, our commitment is solid and unchanged to the success of the immersion program. So I don't know who can speak to that. And I didn't quite formulate it as a question, but I think you'll understand what I'm asking.
Yeah, so one of the things that I'll start, and I don't know if Dr. Moore or Dr. Drati want to jump in, but you know, as we've stated kind of from the beginning of this process, we have not asked the board to do programmatic cuts. I can't say that in the future, and even in the near future, we won't be doing that, and that will be very difficult given the potential of where funding for schools may end up. But at this point in time, we have not done that. We remain committed to the immersion program, including at Santa Monica High School. Part of what it sounds like is we do need to go back and really kind of look at that. I can speak from my own experience as an administrator at Santa Monica High. One of the challenges with the immersion program is having students select and take the courses and making those choices over other kinds of choices. And I think that that's what's necessary to bolster enrollment. But I think the commitment for the immersion program, K-12,
Dr. Drati or Dr. Moore, are there any comments, or is that a good?
I would echo what Dr. Kelly mentioned. We are committed fully to the continued success of our immersion pathway. We've engaged in conversations with our elementary, middle, and high in regards to how can we continue to strengthen our program, how can we work at ensuring our students are taking those courses so that we continue to see the numbers hold all the way through middle and high. So we are completely committed to supporting our immersion program as we have in the past.
Dr. Drati?
And obviously people have experienced a shrinkage in the numbers of students in those programs. And I would say that's probably most likely is a function of declining enrollment in the whole system. And there will be other programs impacted in that way as we continue to decline. I mean, the clearest example of a different program in a different site would be, for example, 3 years ago, Malibu High School had an 11-man football program. We did very successfully. The following year, all of a sudden, we dropped to 8-man, and I'm not even sure where we're going to be this next upcoming year. So, as the district shrinks in student population, there will always be challenges to the different programs that we have, and immersion is just one of those that we, although we will continue to support, the more students that are not enrolling in these programs, it'll be very challenging to keep. So I just think the whole community needs to understand that dynamic, and so this is not an attack on immersion. We love immersion. In fact, that's probably our one of our more expensive programs that we are committed to continue to support. But the fact is that enrollment is impacting the numbers of teachers that teach it.
Great, thank you, Dr. Drati. And I just want to point out, I just heard from a friend of mine on the meeting that he could hear me typing. I just want to let everyone know that I'm trying to run the meeting and take requests from board members to speak as this is going on. I don't want it to be seen as a perception of disrespect. We have one more clarifying question from Laurie.
What I really want to ask is for Dr. Kelly to once again explain what our vote tonight does and does not mean. Because I want people to be clear that this, well, I'll let you say it, but I think I want everyone to have clarity around what is final about this and what is not final about this and what it really does and doesn't mean.
So what this does tonight, this process is laid out in education code. And I want to take a moment to say that we didn't just go out and select this group of teachers. There's an operating principle that was in the education code, which is based on seniority. And what we have to do is to follow that process. It's part of our requirement under the education code. Now, in terms of where we are in the process, in that education code, it talks about the requirement to do a preliminary notification as well as a final notification. And again, that's a process to give individuals notice that that their services may be discontinued. And the preliminary gives them that opportunity, and then as well as the final. So the final notification is only as final as that we have not yet determined that we are in need of these services, that we have a job for them. A couple of things I want to point out is that there were some names, and I do not want to make this about the individual people in terms of the names, because that would be inappropriate, but we have three kind of categories people fall into. And the first one is non-reelection, and that is a principle that that the leader of the school has the opportunity during a person's probationary periods to make a decision not to re-elect an employee. We had very few of them, and the board took action on them on March 5th. We also have what are called temporary employees, and some of the names are thrown out. We're in this category. A temporary employee is an employee who's been hired for a teacher who is on typically a leave of absence or is funded in a categorical program where that funding is not likely to continue. Most of our temporary employees were in places for people who were on a leave of absence who would return this next year. And so it was known when we hired them that this was likely to happen. And then we have this process of layoffs, which is because, again, we don't have the attrition we have to absorb the declining enrollment. It's final in the sense that we have a legal obligation to provide them notice before May 15th. However, rescinding layoff notices can continue. They can continue tomorrow, 2 days from now, next week, the week after that, through the end of June, through August, even into the opening of school year. And in fact, each of these persons, should we get to that place in time, if we're into the next school year, they continue to retain reemployment rights, meaning that if they're qualified to teach in a position that we have available for them, we must hire them in reverse order of seniority, with the most senior in that area coming back first, and then the next most senior, and so on. They retain those reemployment rights for a period of 39 months if they're a permanent employee and 24 months if they're a probation employee. So yes, we call this a final notice, but that process of rescinding will continue as we continue to work with our principals and determine the needs. Now, I want to point out that part of this obligation is to an employment. It may not always necessarily mean at the same school site. And we do have some shifting that may be necessary as we continue to evaluate our staffing needs. But the process of bringing people back continues even after the board takes action. I hope I answered your question.
Yes.
Lori, is that good? Okay.
I think so. I hope that was valuable for everyone else.
So it's now.
Oscar, I believe, has a question. Mr. De La Torre. I see his hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, for the explanation. So just a little bit more clarification on what you just said. So there is the possibility after the board, if the board were to approve this motion today, there's a possibility that some of those that are on the list of receiving a layoff notice would still be able to return after an assessment from staff.
Yes.
On the alignment issue, correct?
Yes, yes. And one of the things I'm doing is working with our principals as we consider various options. We know who these people are. We're committed to our teachers. It's been difficult because I've met with most of these teachers personally. It's very difficult. I felt that was the respectful thing to do. It's not easy to be the deliverer of this message, but I appreciate every one of them. It was very difficult in the hearing because all I could hear was these are wonderful people. I appreciate every single one of them, and we want to try to do what we can to bring those people back that we can. I can't say that 100% of them will be coming back because there are going to be some reductions. We have some places where we know that need just doesn't exist and it's not likely to come up. Now, if attrition starts to occur, we have voluntary separations, some people who do retire, those things can change the picture very quickly. But this process continues. And again, while we have a legal obligation to provide a final notice to employee, we also can, as soon as we're able to, rehire. There is a process that we have to follow in rehiring people. And so we need to abide by that. This process is very much spelled out in code and we need to abide by it. And by bringing this action to the board tonight, we continue to do that.
Just one other clarifying question. On the, there was a teacher that's on the, that spoke, Mrs. Merlob. And there was a point in her speech, and I just wanted to clarify from staff if her, she went on maternity leave, and I was wanting to know if by her going on maternity leave, did that impact her seniority or bumping rights?
I'm a little uncomfortable asking that because I think there's some confidentiality rights. I'd be happy to speak with you privately about that, but I don't think it's appropriate for me to speak to someone's personal employment situation in such a public forum like this. I'm really uncomfortable doing that. Like I said, I can speak to you offline about that. I'm happy to do that.
Okay, I appreciate that, Mark. Thank you for, I'd like to follow up on that because it would sound to me that it would be a very sexist policy if that were the case. And I'd be very concerned about that. Thank you.
Yeah, and what I can assure you is, no, we would not. We abide by the right for mothers to take leaves of absences. We have contractual language as well as there are leave provisions that are required by law, and we abide by all of them. I would hate it to be thought out there that we don't do that. We do that.
Great. So are there any other clarifying questions from the board on this, or can we keep moving forward? All right, seeing none. So now it's time for discussion of the item. Before we do that, I believe we have to have a motion and a second. So does somebody want to move the item and then second so we can get to a discussion? If you raise a hand, I will. So Craig has moved the motion. Do I have a second? And a second by Laurie. So now we will go to discussion of the item. And I'm going to speak first to this and try to present a framework for what we're doing and what we're doing moving forward. Before I do that, I just want to I want to thank all the speakers today, especially Ms. Merlob and Ms. Paulus. It is extremely difficult for the two of you to come here and speak the way you did. I said last week that the people who really are bearing the hardship of this are you. And I just want to say to Ms. Merlob, I am overwhelmed by the outpouring of respect and admiration for you. And Ms. Paulus, if Carl Hobkirk says that you are an amazing person, you are truly an amazing person. So I just want to say that. Second, to Ms. Tropia and to Ms. Brown, who said that they felt I was being condescending and chiding them. In my experience, if that's how you felt, then that's what I was doing. And I apologize for that. It certainly wasn't my intent to do that, but if that's what you picked up on, I must have been doing that. It was not my intent, and I apologize. Now to the item. Whew. So I want to start by moving forward a little bit and then coming back. A lot of people have mentioned, why are we having this discussion before we're having the budget cut discussion, which is scheduled for the 21st? It's an absolutely logical question, and school districts do not work in logical ways. We have to provide these notices by May 15th. We cannot do our budget in May until the governor's May revise comes out, which happens Thursday. There is no time for us to do it in the backwards way. So we have to engage in this process now, and then on the 21st, we will engage in a budget cutting process. I want to talk a little bit about the 21st. I think it's going to be a very interesting meeting. The plan is for us to start reducing the deficit that we have and make cuts that will put us in a stronger position next year when the true effects of COVID-19 start to decimate public schools in our area. We are doing the things that you have asked us to do. We are addressing consultants. We are addressing professional development. We are addressing all those categories you have asked us to address. And this will all be presented on the 21st. Hopefully we will have 244 plus participants coming back for that, because it will be a great discussion, not just on what we're cutting, but how we're going to create a new normal for our district moving forward. That's going to happen on the 21st. So I understand when people are annoyed at doing one before the other, but in a sense, the two aren't exactly as related as people think. As to what Dr. Kelly pointed out, this is not a final decision. This is a procedural process that we have to engage in. I don't think we've had to engage in it in quite a few years because of attrition and retirements. We are dealing with it now. It is not a final decision. It is all the board members' hopes that we will be able to rehire as many teachers as our schools need. That is our goal. That is what we're going to work on. We also know that next year is going to be worse than this year. And anything that we don't do this year will compound to next year, which is just basic accounting. The other thing I want to say, we also have heard from some of our Malibu residents. We don't hear from as many Malibu residents at meetings. A lot of it is just geographic. I want to assure our students in Malibu and our families in Malibu that Dr. Drati has talked to us about doing some hard work this summer in creating, I don't know if it's a task force or a discussion group, but a real deep dive into Malibu. And for lack of a better name, I keep calling it Malibu 2025. What are we going to do to stem the attrition in Malibu? What are we going to do to address the enrollment and create a vibrant education there? So I want to say that to my Malibu families there. So tonight is not the conversation to address. All right, guys, this is like the worst day to be a board member. One of the worst days, but it's why we ran for the board. We ran for the board to make hard decisions. This is a hard decision. I'm not happy about any of this. I'm not happy to be in a position where we economically cannot do what we want to do. 3 years ago when we were in this position, we kept everybody back. We hired every teacher that had been that was on, that had been pink slipped or was in threat of being pink slipped. The board 3 years ago, we unilaterally addressed the healthcare imbalance in our district. Our young teachers were spending 30–40% of their salaries on healthcare. The board addressed that unilaterally so that our younger teachers would not have to worry about healthcare moving forward. Anybody who says that the members of this board are not here because we care about the education of our students and do not understand that the most important person in a student's education is the adult standing in front of them is wrong. We understand that. We believe that. But we also are here to make the difficult decisions that are tasked to us. This is one of them. We have to take this action tonight so that we can then do our work over the coming weeks and bring back as many of our fine teachers as humanly possible. I would also like to bring up, this is a horrible thing for me to do in times of budget cutting, but I would implore our staff to look into, if we do end up laying off teachers, I would implore our staff to find a way to extend healthcare benefits for those teachers for a period of time. This is an awful time, and if we can do any little thing to help, we should do that. And that little thing does not mean we keep every teacher, because that's what we want. That would feel good. That is not, the board members are here. Our responsive job description is to make sure the district runs efficiently. That's one of our 5 jobs. This is our job, and it's not fun. And if you choose to take action against that, you have every right to do that. But I am here to make this difficult vote, and I will support this resolution. I will work with staff over the next month to try to bring back as many of these wonderful employees as we can. I now go to the next board member who has contacted me. And Ralph, were you looking, or Maria? I can't be the only one to speak tonight. Was I that convincing?
I'd be happy to speak, John.
So Ralph will speak and then Laurie. Thank you all.
Thank you all for being here. It is a difficult process. We have gone through it many times, but times are different. We started earlier this year with the standard process for evaluating staff needs for the 2021 school year based on expected student enrollment. But we are currently in different times. We're in the midst of a viral pandemic that has sent all of us home. Students, teachers, and administration, and we're all learning to operate differently in a digital environment. At this time, we don't know what learning in our district will be like and look like in August, September, or in any particular month in the coming school year. So you have to ask, why are we continuing to plan as if things will be the same as they were last August? We've done okay at this Zoom classroom thing, but we're not great. And if it continues for several more months by decree or by choice, for even a portion of every week, that means change. And if we return at less than full population in our classrooms, that means change. So for me, having some unassigned but professional educators available to help with creative solutions for learning, helping other teachers however we can, and for even subbing for sick teachers in digital or physical environments, that would be a good thing. I'll vote to support the resolution tonight to complete this process. However, I do expect a lot of rescissions as early as our next meeting, next week. And then I ask that the board, the superintendent, and the senior staff, that we all work together to help craft a budget for the 2021 school year that will result in the rescission of the remaining teaching positions on this list. We all want to be able to walk back into dynamic and full classrooms without the worries we have in our lives today. But for now, we have to live differently. We're on a journey together to transform our district. It makes sense to continue to work with people who are familiar with our goals and dreams and have been part of this process. So as I've said, to conclude the process we've gone through, which is a very painstaking process that asks for it to be changed over a period of time. You know, I'll support to finish that process, but I do hope that all of us will work together to do what we've been asked to do, is to find ways to make change in our district for at least next year that brings all these wonderful professionals back in whatever capacity and what our schools are going to look like for next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph. Really appreciate that. So we'll move to Laurie. And if other board members want to get on the list, please text me directly or raise your hand in the screen.
Thank you. I guess the first thing I'd like to say is that I think, John, your calling for a moment of silence was great for me to transition from the speakers to the school board portion of this. I want to echo everything that's been said already by John and by Ralph and say a few things in my own way. I don't think anyone could say enough about the comments and the emails and the speakers who we've heard from. They've been so powerful, so moving, and have made so many really great points. And I think this isn't a way I usually talk, but I think so many people's truths have been spoken, and they are truths. And so unfortunately, I want to say that we're sitting here and there are other truths that coexist along with all the ones that have been raised tonight and in previous emails and in our last public hearing. And those have been, I think, spoken to by Dr. Kelly and by John in his earlier comments, and Ralph to some degree. And somehow we have to find a way, I think, to respect each other, to work together, to not turn on each other in a time that is baffling and unknown in terms of what it's going to bring next and how it's exactly going to unfold. We need to work together, respect the various truths that have been brought out in the open, and figure out how to move forward. And so I want to say I seconded the motion because I believe that we have to continue this process. I too completely agree and was going to say that unfortunately, this is totally out of order. If we could conduct things in an order that made sense, the budget would have been out here and all of the things that are being looked at would all be on the table before we ever got to having to give teacher layoff notices. Unfortunately, we don't control that. And there are ed code provisions that require that teacher layoff notices have to be given well before a district can really even determine whether they need to be followed through on. So that's why we're sitting in a position where voting for this motion allows the process to continue of really nailing down our enrollment. It allows the process to continue to look for creative ways, as Ralph mentioned, to perhaps keep teachers who might not be kept based on enrollment. There aren't any guarantees in any of this. The one thing that is guaranteed is that we as school board members, in terms of our vote, do not get to choose who stays and who goes. Those determinations are made by ed code, by the collective bargaining agreement, and by the administrative law judge decision, which is what we delayed this vote on because it just came to our attention the minute before the last board meeting. So I guess all I want to say is I, like everybody else up here, are deeply committed to our teachers, to our existing programs, including immersion. I wish my own kids had gone through the immersion program. It's an incredible program. It is a jewel in our district, and we do know we need to work to enhance it. I care deeply, and I want to echo John's comments about Malibu. I know that we have to have a conversation, both offline and eventually online, about what do we do to try to boost enrollment, keep Malibu schools viable. We recognize that. But I don't think, none of those things are impacted by a positive vote on this motion. It's unfortunately the position we find ourselves in is we have to follow the procedures and see what we're left with at the end of, I guess by June 30th technically, but even beyond that, because enrollment is still never final, and any teachers whose layoff notices are not rescinded at the end of the year, Dr. Kelly, you may have to correct me, but I would assume they would be eligible and first on the rehire list. Dr. Kelly's nodding for anyone who can't see that. So anyway, I think we all cast our votes reluctantly. This is incredibly painful, and it's virtually impossible to describe how difficult it is to do these things. And yet, as John said, the true victims of this are not us. We're just trying to be responsible in the roles that we hold. But clearly the true victims are the students and the teachers. And we'll have to see how this all plays out. But I think we're clear on what direction we're giving, even as we take what is a very difficult vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Laurie. So the list right now is Oscar, Craig, Maria, and then Richard.
I want to, first of all, thank all the parents and all the teachers and all the students, everyone who spoke today to inform our decision. And I will not support this resolution, number 1943, implementing the certificated layoffs. It's something that I will not do. And I feel proud about the position that I'm taking. As many of you know, I'm a product of this school district. I attended Will Rogers, John Adams, and Santa Monica High School. And I wouldn't be where I'm at right now if not for the excellent public teachers who influenced me, who guided me, who educated me in this community here in Santa Monica. Both of my sons are participants in the immersion program, and I have seen the tremendous growth and the benefit that my boys have received from all the teachers in the immersion program. And it really bothers me and it pains me to see that, you know, a highly qualified teacher that is very difficult to recruit. It's hard to recruit people to Santa Monica because of the cost of living. And but to see teachers that are holding the line for the immersion program on the chopping block is something that is very disturbing to me, because the immersion program is a successful program. We know it's successful. And I don't want to support any other program or a promising program that has been untested. You know, so I don't want to, you know, defund one program to fund another. I won't do that. We heard today, and there are a lot of comments today from the students, and it was really powerful. And I thank all the students that spoke up, because that's really what, you know, we are all here to do, is to support students first and foremost. And we hear that, you know, and something I already knew growing up in this community, that teachers go beyond their job descriptions. Teachers are mentors and role models and parent figures. They do a lot more than just stand in front of the classroom and give a lesson plan. And so that's something that we need right now. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We don't know what the future is going to look like. We don't know what the future of the classroom is going to look like. But one thing for sure is that we will have new protocols with social distancing. And I feel that we're going to need all hands on deck. We're going to need more teachers. If we're going to have smaller class sizes, maybe there's a staggered, you know, class day where we have less students in a classroom, and therefore we will need more teachers. And so I think it's just not a smart decision for us to be laying off teachers during this time. And you know, to mention a little bit about what it would feel like. I mean, I'm blessed, and I tell my wife every night, we're very fortunate, because we still have a job. We aren't struggling with that issue. And I can't imagine what it's like, to be a teacher or someone, who is given all that they have to this school district, to be given a layoff notice and how that feels, So I just, for those reasons, I can't support moving forward with these layoffs. I think, I look forward to the May 21st discussion. I know that we'll be looking at many other options, and that's why this is so hard, because we don't have a comprehensive plan where we're not seeing all the different options in front of us, and so it's we're going to a straight layoff a procedure for teachers without seeing all the other options that we have, and that also is very troublesome to me. The other thing that we don't have is also how these layoffs will impact programs or services for students. I mean, and there's teachers in, in the math department and the English department, immersion, of course, and physical education. But we haven't really thought about, like for one example is like, what impact would this have, on the student athletes, that are in our football program? I mean, or our soccer program. Staff hasn't really made that assessment, to tell us what is the impact on student services of these layoffs. And that's another reason why it makes it very difficult for me to support this resolution. One thing that I do support, though, is Board Member Keene talked about the expansion of healthcare benefits if this resolution moves forward tonight for those educators who will not return. I do support giving them as much as we can, in terms of health benefits or severance pay if need be, because I think that's the right thing to do during this this pandemic. In any case, those are my main points that I wanted to make, and I just feel that we have to do everything in our power to keep these highly qualified teachers in the classroom, and that the cuts that we make must be made as far away from the classroom as possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Oscar. I appreciate that. Folks, I'm going to ask just a simple request that the Zoom board meeting was never meant to be an anonymous forum. And I ask you that if your screen name does not reflect your name, if you would voluntarily change it. If you just want to use a first name, that's fine. But it was never meant to be used as we've seen something inappropriate. So if you could please use your first name or last name or full name if you're comfortable with that, or just go anonymous. Thank you so much. And now we will go to Craig, Maria, and then Richard.
They talk about government and wanting never to see the sausage made. The way this particular process works is horrendous for those of us who have to be part of it from the school board side. But that's dwarfed by the experience of nearly 50 teachers this year. And as John said, we did this process, I think 2 years ago, and there were, I want to say 22 teachers who received pink slips then. To receive a pink slip and not to know whether you're going to have a job. And then we get to tonight's process and we're actually firing people. I mean, we can't walk around the language of that. Tonight is the night that we actually fire people. And to get a notice that you've been fired. I just, and particularly in these tough economic times. The reality, though, is this is an ongoing process that tomorrow, so let me go back. I thought Sarah Braff, who for those of you don't know, who's the president of the teachers union, I thought she laid out a really good path forward for us, and a path I think we're all committed to following, which is to work really, 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 really hard to make sure that everybody in our district, every one of these classroom teachers, has an opportunity to be here in the fall. And I know that we're all committed to that. And nothing about today changes that this process continues to run. This is a bureaucratic moment where we have to vote on something, because if we don't, we lose our options. We lose our ability to control our budget. We lose our ability to find, to make this work in a positive way. So I think it's really important to know that we are committed to, I am committed to, I think every member of the board, every member of staff, Dr. Kelly is committed to finding a home for all of these teachers, to working hard, being innovative, being thoughtful, being human, as Sarah so wonderfully said, that we're going to keep doing that. And I can't apologize enough for the process and how it works and the inhumanity of it. It's not in our hands to change it. It's part of the laws of the state of California. But none of that changes our human commitment to our students and to their teachers who do such an amazing job day in and day out in their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. So Maria and then Richard, please.
Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for everyone who has made a comment this evening. It is a very, very, very hard position for all of the board members. Having listened to the comments this evening of our students, I mean, we're here for you. But I've thought a lot, a lot of sleepless nights since our Thursday meeting regarding, my role on the school board, being here almost 20 years. I've gone through this many, many times, more than many of you have, the rest of my colleagues on the board, and realizing that there is a process. There's two different processes, as was mentioned earlier. However, the whole issue of budget has always been on front line, because we've always had those issues of budget year after year, and whether at one point we're able to salvage something or not, and we don't have to go to that point of doing layoffs, we don't. However, the process for me this time around was not that clear. The fact that, yes, we had to take decisions on prior to March 15th to give notices out, knowing that we had to make decisions. However, in the past, even though I know that the budget, we usually don't have strong conversations on budget until the May revise, as it was mentioned earlier. We have always had at least budget meetings, budget review meetings, just budget, what do they call it, budget discussions, just so that we can have an idea of what was up and coming in terms of the future of where this district was going. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. And so for me, it's difficult for me to take certain decisions tonight when we were attacked tonight because the budget wasn't clear. And I understand that. I truly understand that, because there's certain things that we will see on May 21st and how this budget will fall, in a sense, come together in terms of the other cuts that have to be made to be able to move forward and end, 1920 and then begin 2021. But unfortunately, the public didn't see those, and we've gotten a few of those as a board member, but not the full extent of what we're looking for in terms of the budget. For me, I did ask, I was really concerned in particular with the immersion program, because it's one of those programs that I take very dear to my heart, because this is a program that I worked on even before I was on the board, about 10 years before I was on the board. This is one of those items, those programs that we fought so hard, myself as a part of the community, to bring forth to Santa Monica. And both my husband and I and a couple other electeds, in this community fought for this, and it was established. I think it was during the 90s. And I wanted to support it. The fact that, it was mentioned tonight that the program is diminishing because of lack of student support, lack of, I guess, diminishing student, I guess, what is it? What am I trying to say? The program at the high school has diminished to a certain extent, not because I think there are not students there ready to take the courses, but because we haven't, as a district, really invested in supporting and strengthening that program, I think, at the high school. So for me, I know it was clarified by Dr. Kelly, and thank you, because I did email him about the teacher there at Samuel High, but I realized, because I knew the two teachers that retired last year, one of which we knew ahead of time, and which I think that came at the last minute in June, that he was retiring, leaving us with lack of teachers to be able to teach in the social studies, in the immersion social studies. So for me, that's a program that for me really builds multiculturalism and equity in this district, because it's the only thing that we have kids across the board, whether they're of all colors, of different economic, socioeconomic situations, that are part of this program, that have been very successful and have made, those have graduated, have excelled in whatever they've done because of this program. So I really want to be there to support this program. And, just lastly, in all honesty, because of where I stand today, I'm not going to support the resolution tonight. And not because people mentioned this evening threatening some of us about re-election, because that's far from my mind. Whether I'm here or not, I will always be supportive of of the work that this district does, the work that I've done in the last 20 years in supporting kids that sometimes have not had a voice and have been successful in the education that they received in our district. I'm a first generation college goer, and I think, as was mentioned by Oscar de la Torre, by my colleague, that I didn't come to Santa Monica High School, Santa Monica Unified School District, but I did, I was part of this community, and if it wasn't for the great teachers that I had in my education, I wouldn't be where I am today. So that I do hold all of you teachers, and thank you for the roles that you take. And but for whatever the vote goes this evening, I am supportive of making sure that if some teachers are released tonight, that we at least are able to offer them something, and that hopefully in our May 21st meeting, we're able to find other ways of finding areas that we can cut so that we are able to bring back everybody for the next school year. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Maria. Which brings us to Richard.
Thank you, John. Can you hear me okay? I too, like all my colleagues, I want to thank the members of the public who came out again this evening to address the school board. I also wanted to thank my colleagues. This is tough. So please forgive me for my my halts and starts and stops. What I'd like to most convey is what is truly on my mind, is that there's no doubt in my mind that all 7 members of this board and of the staff are deeply and truly committed to excellent education in our school district. And it's really one of those moments that some of us who are over 50 wonder if we'll have many more, since we're so long in the tooth, as some would say, where you find moments of learning something. There are so many pieces to this that I want to be able to convey, but because of the particular ways that we go about John, can someone mute the folks who aren't muted?
I'll take a look and see if I can find somebody, TJ.
Sorry, because I'm trying to get this to be coherent, and it's just distracting in this crazy environment, this Zoom environment. So I want to convey that we are all truly committed to this district. And one thing that I love about Santa Monica and Malibu, there are many, and is our deep commitment to progressive values and to the view that education is the great equalizer, and that it provides life chances, opportunities for people who might not have them because of maybe where they're living or where they've come from or what their experiences have been. So this is tough, and I don't like it when we see ourselves pitted against one another, as if there's a good person and a bad person, and somebody who cares and somebody who doesn't care. That's not the case. It isn't the case as I see it. I want to thank Sarah Braff and all of the teachers, the CTA, like every member of this school board. We put our kids through this school district, and we know firsthand how incredible the teachers are, and how they are most certainly, the glue that keeps the learning happening. And when you see those young people come and speak in favor of the teachers who have moved them, it is impossible to not be moved yourself. I also want to thank Dr. Drati and his team. And I want everyone to hear at least this one board member say that I am incredibly grateful for the many, many budget presentations, the small group budget meetings that you have had with us board members, the way in which you have heard us and our need to go at a particular pace. I think when someone is looking at this as a longer self and how this conversation has been unfolding for multiple years, we thought that we could ease into this and that these cuts and reductions would be easier, but of course, not easier, excuse me, would be something that could be managed differently. But this particular pandemic moment and this crisis has made it very difficult. Dr. Drati, you and your staff should know that this board has I have confidence in you and your staff and the work that you have been doing on behalf of the children, the students in this district. And I have never doubted that your commitment, that your staff's commitment is for the betterment of all the kids in this district. I think it's important that we say over and over again that this reduction that we are considering is a bureaucratic vote that we're taking tonight. And I think that Craig said it nicely, others as well, what Member Foster said has stuck with me, that we find ourselves making these bureaucratic decisions to allow for flexibility. And I'm a teacher. I think most people know that. And I've been a teacher most of my life, my adult life. And I want to use these moments to say that these processes that we put in place, the March 15th notices and the May 15th and the transparency and the many public meetings, these are all meant to protect teachers, to protect our community. So to ensure that when these difficult decisions are to be made, that everybody has a seat at the table to be engaged and to be heard. I want the community to know that it's, I guess I want the community to also know that this board initiated and took the steps to work with the CTA to eliminate the two-tiered system with regards to healthcare and healthcare benefits in this district because of our deep, deep respect and commitment to the profession of teaching and out of great love and respect for the persons who teach in our district. That many of us believed, I think everybody in the community believed, in settling our contracts with our partners recently would make it even more difficult to address what we knew was coming in these budget difficulties. But we knew that we wanted to be leaders. We wanted to blaze the trail to show that we were committed to the teachers and to the work that's happening. We did not expect COVID-19. We did not expect what has happened to the city of Santa Monica with regards to the monies that they contribute to us in a partnership through the various taxes, the tax shares. So I know I'm going probably far longer than John wants me to go, but I don't know how best to convey how hard this decision is. I am voting tonight in favor of the resolution. And I am voting yes, because I do feel confident in Dr. Kelly, Dr. Drati, his team, that they will do everything they can do to ensure that there is the least number of teachers who are let go as possible. Thank you for the time. This is hard. As I close, none of us ran for this. I mean, you've heard this before. We did not run to the school board to do these things, but because we love education, we love this district. We have to make this very difficult decision in this moment. Thank you, John.
Hey, thanks, Richard. Ralph has an additional comment, and then if there's no more board comments, we will go to a roll call vote. Mr. Metcher.
Sure. So here in my hearing, I want, look, I want to say that I have the utmost respect and support for all the senior leadership, for the hard work, and the intention, to take us through this process. But I'm not comfortable if my voice, hasn't been said strong enough, that I really do expect that all these people will be part of our family as we move ahead. And the way we do that is we address the budget, which I know, again, that Dr. Drati and staff have been working endlessly to try to bring to us what they feel is appropriate. But my voice is that we have to go beyond, in some cases, in what ways we have to figure out. Next week is our first meeting on the budget. It's not our last meeting. We have several. So it's a first discussion and we'll come back. I'm not sure that we have to pass it by June 30th. And we have a series of meetings scheduled for it. That's for everybody, to understand. So, as I said, I would support this, but I'm not, I'm not going to, because I really want these people to be part of our family. They are part of our family, and I want to take that burden off and have them not have to wait. These are incredibly difficult times for everybody. The most difficult times, for many people in their lives, unless you're, survivors of other kinds of personal trauma or civil trauma. But for most of us, it really can't get any worse than it is now. So I just, won't support it. It has nothing to do with the people who've been doing the work. But I want us to move on, and I want us to figure out how we're going to solve this problem in the best way possible, and not just sort of leave lives hanging in the balance.
Great, thank you, Ralph. Do we have any other board member comments? Seeing none, I'm going to go to a roll call vote. If you can make sure that you're off mute for the vote. Board Member Lieberman.
Yes, very painfully voting yes.
Board Member Leon Vasquez.
No.
Board Member Foster.
Yes.
Board Member Metcher.
No.
Board Member Dr. Tavildra Jeswin.
Yes.
Board Member De La Torre.
No.
And I am a yes, which means the resolution carries 4-3. Thank you all very much for your work on this item tonight. We still have public comment, and we still do have a few. You know what? I'm going to block that screen. Giving people the finger is really not appropriate at this time. We're all trying to work and come together as a community, and expressions like that just belittle what we're doing. I'm going to take us now to, hold on. There we go. I'm going to move to general public comment. And Board Vice President Lieberman, if you could let us know who has comments to read.
Yes, I think we have two, Sarah Braff and Sarah Barrett. 3 minutes apiece.
Hi. Hi. I wanted to talk about end of year dates and when to stop school and all of those kinds of things, but I think it's kind of moot at this moment, but I would like to bring it back, and I think it's very important, especially for our high school teachers. They're going to have to do a huge amount of grading because they're allowed to, they're going to accept papers from March 13th on. So they could get a load at the very end, and that's kind of difficult. So we're going to ask that May 29th be the last student online learning. And we're also going to ask that we change the date by which students and families have to let us know if they're going to take the letter grade or the credit, no credit by June 8th, so that teachers have time to change those grades should it become necessary. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Braff. Oh, sorry, Laurie, I slipped back into Vice President mode again. I'm so sorry. Who's our next speaker?
Sarah Barrett, if she's still on the line here.
I am.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So, this is hard. Because it's hard to sit there and watch teachers beg for their jobs, but I'm gonna try and get past. Today's been a really long day because today was the day that we needed to sign our kids up for summer school at SMC because we don't have the Get Ahead program at SAMO because I don't know why, because teachers aren't given the opportunity to teach, I guess, over the summer, because I don't even know. But in any case, SMC was completely full before anyone could even sign up, either in the high school or our graduating seniors from middle school couldn't get in to any of those things. It was completely stressful and frustrating. And even though I planned and organized and dotted I's and crossed T's way ahead of time to make sure that my kid could get signed on, I was up at 6:45 this morning to make sure that they could get the classes that they needed so that they could take the electives that they want to take, and we were still shut out. So I am coming to the board to ask them to please, obviously you have no control over SMC and what they do, but you do have control over teachers at Samo High and being able to Get Ahead. And it's clear that there is a need for these students who want to take electives, who want to get ahead, who are interested in learning, who are passionate about learning because of the teachers that they've had in the past. And it is unconscionable not to give them those opportunities. And I'm asking this board to please figure out a way to add classes back in. Pay your teachers, beg them to come and teach over the summer. I bet you Sarah Paulus would be interested since she's just been riffed. Let's see what we can do to help our teachers, help our students. Thank you.
You know what, Sarah, this is something that's been being addressed all day today. It did not run smoothly, so I wonder if Dr. Mora can give us a little clarification on how this is being addressed and fixed for the betterment of the students. Dr. Mora, are you with us?
Thank you.
Yes, I am. So thank you for the opportunity. We are partnering with SMC to work on the creation and development of additional classes. So there is a process for our students to be able to complete the application and register for the classes at SMC. We continue to work through that process now. Our Samo High staff and Malibu High staff is working closely with SMC in order to send out additional communication to families as it relates to the various courses that we have typically been offering here. So we will be following up with additional communication to families, but I appreciate your patience. I ask for your patience as we work through this process to support all of our students.
Dr. Moore, if I could ask one more clarifying question on this. Is it our goal to provide opportunities for all students who wish to take these classes?
That is our goal. However, we are working with SMC to ensure that they have the faculty necessary to teach these courses. And we are also working with our own faculty as well to see if they are able to apply for any position that may be available. So yes, that is our goal.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moore. And
John.
Yes, sir.
May I just say one thing about that also?
Yes, please.
I know it's on I just want to encourage the parent who spoke to have her student reach out directly to the professors at SMC also. So Dr. Mora and her team are doing wonderful work and connecting with the college to get more class sections offered. But just for example, anecdotally, you can write to a professor and ask him, her, or them to also take a student in, and there are wait lists. And I think all of us are committed to doing that. I know I am. So
my student did that.
So I'd be happy, like John said to the one other public speaker, please contact me after the meeting. I'd be happy to assist and see if there's a way I could help there.
Great, thank you very much, Richard.
One more thing.
I can't tell who's raising their hand.
That's me, Dr. Moore. May I add one more?
Sure, I'm sorry, Dr. Moore, I don't see you on the screen.
No problem. I just want to share with our families and our community that things are changing constantly. I am in communication and I've received emails from our SMC counterparts saying that they're adding additional classes. So we are working diligently to provide this support to our students. So know that we are working to ensure that our students have access. And we just ask for your patience as we work through that and as we create these opportunities.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. We appreciate that. On that note,
John, I signed up for public comment. I did it at the same time. They both came in. It says, really?
I said I want that way. Let me.
Okay, hold on one second. Ms. Ford, both were set up, both were submitted as for B1. So it was taken off as a duplicate, but I will honor your request to speak for public comment.
Thank you.
Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't understand.
It did sign up as a double for the same thing. It's a user error on one end. You'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you. The reason I'm signing up for public comment is to talk about Justin Ross. However, given the way the vote went, last man out, first man in, we're going to take this time to do something else. So you guys did not present a budget to us, and a lot of parents complained. The one thing you did present to us, and again, you guys love talking about this, is Measure R. So you know what? We're just going to go through it just for a second, because you have people on the line, and you have a media, so community services, this is Measure R. Media technician, Barnum Hall, it's a full-time job for $80,000, $78,000. That's a teacher, you guys. Are we gonna be in Barnum Hall this next year? I highly doubt it. We are in social distancing. That's gonna be the last thing we're opening up. So I would encourage you to maybe save one teacher and think about this technician. And I do think it's, you know, let's see, what else can we look at? Oh, look, I'm all for mariachi leads and staff for $30,000, but that's a part-time teacher. You know, so I think we need to start thinking, and you know what? I'm only working off of this because that's all you've given us. So now that I have a couple minutes, let me read my letter of recommendation to Justin Ross, because he deserves that. That's the least he go. You guys can listen to this. And I wrote this pre-COVID when you guys were you had 45 folks that you were pink slipping. And I wrote this, and just cut me off when my time's up. March 11th, 2020, dear educators, I'm writing on behalf of the wonderful and talented Justin Ross. It breaks my heart because my son and I want him to stay at Santa Monica High School, and we're not alone. Mr. Ross has a mighty group of ardent fans, and we're not happy about his departure. The school might not be able to tell you this, but Mr. Ross is the victim of heavy budget cuts, and the cuts run deep. 45 teachers were pink slipped this spring. As Mr. Ross was last man in, he's the first man out. It's devastating news for us, but good news for you because Mr. Ross is one of the greats. Let me explain. My son Taj is in Mr. Ross's freshman honors English class. Freshman honors is a challenging class to teach at Samuel High because anyone can take it. The teacher is tasked with creating a curriculum that's challenging at the honors level, but accessible to a range of students. Not an easy undertaking, but Mr. Ross has conducted this class with grace, enthusiasm, and aplomb. I was an English literature major at Stanford University and studied contemporary British drama and drama and British literature at Oxford University. I pay very close attention to my children's English classes as well as their teachers. I can say with confidence that Mr. Ross is one of the greats. Taj's analytical thinking and writing skills have made leaps and bounds since Mr. Ross's class. These are skills that Taj will use through the rest of high school, college, and for the rest of his life. In this 21st century, I can't think of anything more important than how to write and think. It's how we communicate. That's it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ford. And that will be the last comment, which brings us to the end of our public meeting.
I tried to sign up for public comments after it started, which would mean 1 minute, right? I don't know what happened to the application.
The application got closed after the last speaker in public comments.
But per your rule, you're allowed to sign up. It's on your COVID-19 rules.
After the last name was called is when it got closed.
I actually also signed up for public.
Yeah, people signed up.
When?
I signed up at the same time I signed up to speak on the first one. I put it on the same form, option 1, and then option 2. I wrote in their public comments.
Folks, there are 201 people on the screen. I do not know who was just speaking, so it's very hard to.
I know who was just speaking. So we have 2 people, Roberta Brown and Janet Heinzle. And so I think we should close it at that. I apologize to all of you. Sarah is doing the best she can, and we are reading what she's taking from all of you in a Google Doc. So, you know.
Okay, so we have 2 more general public comments.
1 minute, well, actually.
Let's assume the signups were made.
1 minute, and Janet is at 2 minutes.
So sorry, is that over to me then for 1 minute?
Yes.
Thank you. The main thing that I wanted to say, obviously, I'm sure you know how tremendously disappointed I am in the result of the vote. And what I want you to consider is that while all of you were saying how difficult it was, but that you hoped that you'd be able to bring these people back, the reality of the way this process works is that the absolute best of the best, the most shining stars of the people you're laying off, are the ones who are going to get scooped up by someone else. And obviously I want them to be okay. I'll be happy for them to be in work, but We want them in our district. And I've seen this happen before. I've watched this happen before where we lay people off and then we find the money and we go to get them back and we lose them. So please, if you're saying that next week there is an opportunity to reassess the budget, please use that week to get these people back as fast as possible before someone else hires our highly skilled teachers that our kids need. That was within a minute, right?
Yes, thank you very much. Janet Heinzle, and I think I just got an email from Lydia Marraro who says she tried to sign up to make a general public comment. So this has got to stop after that. But anyway, Janet, take your 2 minutes.
I don't know that I will speak for 2 minutes. I do want to say thank you to everybody who's participated. I know the board is in a very, very difficult position. I appreciate those of you that took the stance for a no vote this evening, because I believe a yes vote is putting the cart before the horse. If we've not had the chance to analyze the budget, yet we're saying we will do everything we can to bring the teachers back, we should just be keeping the teachers in the first place, then analyzing the budget and finding another place to cut. I also want to reiterate my admiration and my son's admiration for two teachers, one who was pink slipped, Mr. Capra, who has just been the most amazing influence this year, and Mr. Ross, who has not been pink slipped but has been cut and is just the most outstanding English teacher I could possibly have imagined, having my son the pleasure of being in his classroom this year. And encouraging him to stick with an honors class that he otherwise would have dropped. He is a much better student because of this year with these two teachers. And I strongly, strongly, strongly urge you to please, please do everything within your power to do what you've said will happen, which is really analyze the budget, find another way to find the funds somewhere else. Please, I urge you. I do appreciate you're all in a very difficult position. But that's it. The teachers come first. Without great teachers, we don't have a great school district. And we've been very fortunate in our 10 years here in the district to have some of the best teachers we have. I do feel very fortunate, and that's why I speak passionately now, because my kids' education is at stake. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Janet. The last speaker is Lydia Marraro.
Thank you so much, Laurie. I just wanted to speak about the SMC enrollment for biology, as I told you all last night. It is my understanding that SMC will be creating 3 more classes. These classes will be to address the 76th lottery winner of Santa Monica High School. So 93 seats will be given in those 3 sections that SMC will create for biology. And 76 of those will go to these lottery kids. So there's just about over 30 seats that will be left and put back into the basket for all the other kids that wanted to do biology. My kid is 77th on the list. So that leads me to believe that above and beyond the 76 lottery winners, there is at least 77 children that would like to attend. Additionally, I know that kids from Palisade High also want to get to that class, and so 30 seats will definitely not be enough. So if you are going to be talking to SMC and negotiating anything, may I please advise that you ask for more than 3 sections. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lydia. And that, on that note, we will end public comment. And I just would like to break the rules and just speak in general then, and just say that we will do what the last 2 speakers just asked and what you all have asked, which is to provide the best quality education for our students in this district and do everything we can to keep as much of the integrity and the teachers that we have talked about tonight intact. I urge you all to join us on the 21st as we start this budget conversation. I think it's going to be an interesting conversation. I hope we see 240 people for that as well, because that will really show how we're going to move forward together as a district. I thank you all for your time. I thank you all for your patience. I thank you all for your passion. And on that note, our meeting is adjourned.